2, 1, and we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Winthrop. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. First off, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of the Electrek podcast is brought to you by the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4 SUV with zero direct emission. It's the first electric vehicle for everyone. Before it can change the world, it has to change yours. A little more later on the ID4. Thanks for Volkswagen for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Before we dive in, and we have a lot to discuss this week, and it's almost pretty much all related to Tesla because of they were dominating the news this week with the launch of the Model S Plaid and a bunch of other things. So we're going to get to that. But first off, if you are a fan of the show, please give us a thumbs up. It helps hit the like button. It helps with the show. The algorithm loves to pick that up, and it helps push it to more people. The more people get to enjoy our content, and we appreciate that. Also, hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Right now, 85% of you that are watching are not subscribing. This is unacceptable, people. I cannot accept that. You guys hit the subscribe button now or nothing. I'm not your boss. You do whatever you want. But all right, let's dive in. And Seth and I haven't discussed the Model S Plaid launch yesterday, so we're gonna do it live on the podcast. Give us our impression. Give you guys our impressions, and the we need a little focus on the new pieces of information that came out of the event, because as you remember, when the vehicle was sort of initially launched in January, or at least unveiled, all the information we got was basically what Tesla posted on the website, and at Electrek we got a little bit more information from sources, and that was about it. So this was basically a more in-depth presentation. But personally, overall, I was kind of left a little bit underwhelmed by the old experience. I thought Tesla would go a little bit more details on a bunch of things. It was kind of just on the surface for some details. Like, for example, he did mention that it's a brand new battery pack that the Model S Plaid has, but he didn't go into details about that battery pack. And of course, it's a bigger deal too with the Plaid Plus. Was also we're expecting the 4680 in there. Well, I should mention the Plaid Plus because before the event itself, there was a few pieces of news that we kind of need to discuss too, because that kind of changed the event itself. First off, last weekend, Elon Musk announced, as he was promoting the event coming on Thursday, he said that the Model S Plaid Plus was canceled. Sort of cancel altogether. You just mentioned it on Twitter, and we had some questions, of course. So we reach out to him to make sure, like, is it completely canceled, or are you guys just pushing it for now as you focus on the Plaid? And on Twitter, he only said that the Plaid is just so good. But then, when we reach out, he elaborated, and I'm going to quote what he said to us. What we're seeing is that once you have a range of above 400 miles, more range doesn't really matter. There are essentially zero trips above 400 miles where the driver doesn't need to stop for a restroom, food, coffee, etc. Anyway, so the difference between the Plaid and Plaid Plus was indeed mainly the range, and but that range was enabled by the new 4680 battery cells with the new structural battery pack and all the other improvements that comes with that, and also some performance improvement in terms of the acceleration and the overall driving performance were also expected from those changes to the powertrain technology and the body of the vehicle itself, because of the structural battery pack is now part of the powertrain and the body. So that was kind of a bummer that Elon sort of like just saw that the range thing is like not being needed. And also, it raised some other questions.
Yeah, some big questions, like for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the
Cybertruck,
right?
and Roadster, yeah.
Yeah, that Cybertruck too. That's a 500 mile. But I mean, the Cybertruck at least has the excuse of are we still on? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
The Cybertruck has the excuse of it's okay to have a much larger range than you would necessarily used to, because with a load, with some towing, with using it more as a work truck, then that affects the efficiency a lot, and it affects the range. So you're gonna you're gonna want to have a bigger empty range in order for the work range to be more in line with what people would expect. But the same thing is true with other vehicles. Oh, am I still cutting out there?
You're good.
I'm on. Okay. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here with the StreamYard for some reason, but yeah. So there's no one on one go 400 miles. You're gonna stop at some point. You're gonna go to the bathroom, like Elon says. You're gonna get a coffee or whatever. But that's 400 miles in like ideal scenarios, and not driving too fast too. Like most people like to drive a little bit over the speed limit. Like here in Quebec, for example, speed limit is 100 kilometers an hour, but we know that the police won't really stop you until you hit like 120 kilometers an hour. So most people drive over 100 kilometers an hour, up to like 119, 118, and between that 100 kilometers an hour and that 118, there's a giant difference in efficiency, and your 400 miles of range will go down quickly to closer to 300 miles of range. And then bring in the colder climate, bring in winter tires, bring in what else that affects the range, to like all that stuff. Yeah. So for those regions, some people would like a range of over a rated EPA estimated range of 400 miles in order to have closer to that in a bunch of different scenarios. But Elon seems to not be on board with that, at least from what he said. So no Plaid Plus, but that's okay. I mean, I kind of feel like he said that to keep the focus on the Plaid because let's be honest, like Tesla always improves on the vehicle. Even though the Model S itself, the Model S has kind of been stale for a while in terms of design and everything, the performance kept improving over the last few years. Like always more efficiency, longer range, all that stuff, more performance, faster acceleration, like incrementally over the years that kept coming. Is Tesla saying that, okay, now that we hit 400 miles, it's gonna stop? And because the only thing they can do from there would be, as the efficiency improve, instead of increasing the range, they reduce the battery pack capacity, have a smaller battery pack in there, reduce the cost and everything. But the Model S, starting at $80,000, it's pretty much where it should be. It's an S-Class competitor. It's a BMW 5, 6 Series competitor, all that stuff. It's already in the right price range. So I think I would be shocked if we don't see in the next like 2 years a longer range Model S. About you?
It would be nice if there was a modular option. I know I keep saying this and it's never going to happen, but like there are edge cases. I don't think it's a huge part of the population, but I feel like there's edge cases where 140 kilowatt hour battery pack would make sense if you're in the middle of nowhere and the winter time, those kind of situations. I don't think it's where Tesla needs to be right now, but like if you want to start hitting those edge people, you start to have to get a bigger battery. I don't know what you do in that case, because you're gonna downgrade the quality of the drive because you have a heavier car. You're gonna probably affect the acceleration because it's a heavier car. And for most drives, people aren't going to need that. I mean, me personally, I kind of wish there was a smaller battery pack so that, I would like, if I had my way, I would have like a 50 kilowatt hour battery pack. And then in my garage, I would have like
a battery swap station.
No, I would have like 5, 10 kilowatt hour battery packs that were kind of like a power wall.
Stackable on the car?
I could just slide them into the trunk or whatever, on the bottom of the trunk or, on the sides. And then, most of the time they're just backing up power in my house or whatever, or cutting grid, whatever. But it's just crazy that you're driving around 400 miles of range with you all the time. And for me, it's kind of sad, but like, I don't drive, 10, 20 miles a day. I don't drive over 10 or 20 miles a day, like 95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ride my
But
bike.
that's most people. I mean, maybe not 10 to,
Yeah,
but
but like
more than
20 to
30.
30. Yeah.
Yeah, from 20 to 30, that's most people actually. You might be a little bit less since you work from home more than most people, but
Right.
still.
So I don't know. It's
But
it.
I agree with you. Like what you just described is the optimal solution. There's no doubt about it. It's just that the implementation of it
Right.
is quite something. Like it's but I mean, if someone could do it, would be Tesla. I just don't think that it's really it's a big challenge. It would be a massive challenge to do. But it might interest you if you are someone that wants a 130 kilowatt battery pack in your luxury sedan. I mean, I know that one group of people were happy of Elon's announcement last weekend, and that's Lucid, because the Lucid Air, the top of the line version, is still at 500-mile range with.
And Mercedes EQS has 100 something as well, right? 110.
Yeah, but I think they are aiming for 400 miles of range, though. I don't think
Right.
it's going to be way more than 400 miles. Certainly not. I don't think it's going to be 500 miles like the
Right.
like the Lucid Air. But yeah, so that was the one of the pieces. Whoop, what happened there? Yeah. That was one of the pieces of information that came out of the before the event yesterday. And then there was also right before the event, there was a significant price increase on the Plaid that almost brought it to the price of the Plaid Plus. A
Yep.
$10,000 price hike to basically $130,000 now. Starting price on the Model S Plaid. Um, I think that's a $20,000 price increase too since the unveiling of the vehicle. I think it started when it first replaced the Model S Performance. It was 110, then it went 120, and now it's 130. So yeah, you can see a trend there.
Yeah. If you got in early, you've already made $20,000.
Yeah. I don't know if Tesla respected that first
Oh,
price.
that's
I'm not
right.
sure.
I think there was some kind of discount, but it wasn't the
Yeah,
full.
yeah, I don't think they did. This one they had to, because I mean, so many people were already like way deep into the buying process.
Right.
But yeah, big price increase, and we know we've discussed Tesla price increase for the last few months. It's been crazy, but mostly incremental price increase, mostly just from Model 3, Model Y. Elon mentioned more recently that it was due to supply chain pressure throughout the industry, especially with raw materials, that it's increasing in price. So that translates to a price increase in the end consumer. But I wouldn't say that's really the reason here for the Model S Plaid, like a $10,000 jump, which is like almost a 10% bump in price right before the unveiling and everything. I think that was more of a demand thing. Like Tesla is seeing strong demand for the version for this version of Model S, and is boosting the price, because if the material cost was really something that Tesla was worried about the Model S, the long range version would be the one that they would increase in price way before the Plaid. So it's something to keep in mind, because the Model S, the long range, is still $80,000 and hasn't changed since the update in January. Model S, they they reduced the price of the base Model S to 69,420. Like that was the whole joke,
Hmm.
and it was in competition with Lucid actually. But yeah, now let's go to the unveiling here that happened. So could you hear that, Seth? I think I
Yeah.
cut out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're back.
Okay. So what did you think in general of the event?
So yeah, as you know, I fell asleep. I was putting my kids to bed and I fell asleep at around 9:30 last night. So I missed the event by quite a bit, but I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning. I was like, ah, crap. And I went and watched the video. Um, and it's a very typical Tesla event. It looked a little bit disorganized. Elon looked like he had never seen these slides that he was reading from in his life. Um, very, but still, like, he had some very deep Tesla fans there. The overall, like, the product is solid. Like, we've known this for a while. There's a lot of nice updates Model S. I don't think they addressed some of the concerns, like with the yoke steering wheel, with the like it knows if you want to go forward or backward. Like I think a lot of people are like not comfortable with that. From our comments, I can see that I'm not the only one who's like that sounds like a good thing in the future, but like I have autopilot and sometimes it drives off the road, so I don't know if I want to hit the accelerator in the kids parking lot to go forward and like run over a kid behind me or something. Mm-hmm. So things like that are going through my mind that aren't really addressed, and they wouldn't, like I wouldn't expect them to be addressed at a Tesla event. But it seemed very hype. I noticed the drag times guy was in the Plaid Model S. He got it, I think, 2.7 seconds, 0 to 60, and it seemed like it hit 100 like maybe 2 seconds later. So it's kind of close to where it needs to be, or where Tesla says it can be, but I don't think that car, like as of right now, is going 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Like it seems like there might be some updates that are coming down the pike to make it get there. They've also said that it's not 200 miles yet either.
Yeah, they might need different tires, might need different wheels, and like that wasn't explained very well during the whole presentation, especially the 200 miles per hour, which was mentioned during the presentation, but it didn't specify like the need for new wheels and tires, and the fact that Tesla is advertising it at 200 miles per hour and like selling it like that, but no, does that mean that the wheels and the tires required are going to be included like later? Like are they going to just give them to you, or is it we're going to have to buy them?
That sounds very unlikely.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Tesla at all. So I'm like, it's kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, what we were looking for is like especially a lot of the changes that are aesthetic and like in the interior and everything. We had a pretty good idea what they're going to be like from the unveiling in January, but a lot of the under the hood stuff was just briefly mentioned and didn't go into details. In the event, we did get a little bit more details, but not that much either. We did get this nice power curve here, which shows a very, very impressive improvement here, because you see Tesla has been known to improve the power in their vehicle quite a bit. We see the 2012 performance vehicle versus the P100D versus the 2019 Model S performance. A big jump at first here, then a little incremental improvement, but the Plaid is undoubtedly the biggest. All now about the new Palladium motor, Palladium powertrain that Tesla was developing for the new Model S and X. This is it. So they called it carbon coated, carbon sleeved, or carbon overwrap rotor in the new drivetrain, the new motor drivetrain. So Elon didn't go again into much details really, but other than how hard it is to do, which is fair. Like it is a great feat of engineering from Tesla to have achieved that. But the big improvement is on efficiency. The motors already have better power and energy efficiency at the same time, which is of course kind of what you want to achieve with any kind of motor. So that's great. But the Palladium program was also a brand new battery pack, and Elon sort of just mentioned it. It's like, yeah, we have a brand new battery pack, but then he didn't mention a word about it. It was kind of, so we don't know much about this new battery pack. We don't think it's the new 4680 cells. We don't think it's the new structural battery pack, but it is new. How new is it? Is it also like a non-module battery pack? Is it just a cell to pack, but not structural cell to pack like the 4680 enables? We don't know. It's not clear. We would have loved some more details about that, especially buyers of the new Model S would have loved some more details about the lowest drag coefficient of any production car to date at 0.208. Mercedes-Benz technically claims a lower drag in the EQS, but I think Elon's based his claim on the fact that they are not using moving wheels in the drag coefficient, though I couldn't see that information from Mercedes that they were using it or not. So,
Also, the UQS isn't being mass produced yet, so
well,
maybe that's the
yeah,
caveat there.
maybe they're going after that. Yeah, looks like they're using a bit of a loophole here, but I mean, still extremely uh,
Yeah, it's close.
aerodynamic. Like there's, like you won't get much better than this. I think like unless you want like covered wheels and all that stuff, like you won't get below um, point 0.2, or if you do, like it's not gonna look like a good
Yeah, I
good looking
mean,
car.
the one car I can think of that's below 2 is the Aptera, and that thing looks like an airplane without wings.
Yeah, it's not even really a car. I mean, there was this Volkswagen at one point.
Right. It had like the covered back wheels.
Yeah, the covered back wheels. I don't remember the name, but yeah, it's not like you have to do some compromises at this point. All right. One of the big pieces of new information that came out that was really impressive is this new thermal management system with heat pump that you see here on the screen right now. It's of course we know that Tesla has been focusing more on that lately. First with the Model Y getting the heat pump, then the Model 3 having its new Octovalve and heat pump system. But now it's making its way to the Model S with a brand new one, and Elon had made some pretty insane claims about it, with like a 30% better in cold weather range. And then he said it requires 50% less energy for cabin heating in freezing conditions. Sorry. So I don't know like how those two things works together, because I mean they are both linked. Like having better cabin, like more efficient cabin heating in freezing conditions will help with your cold weather range too. But of course, the thermal system also can manage like the motor temperature, the battery mid temperature. So there's a lot of things at play here. But if those numbers are true, I mean that would be massive for the um, for Tesla buyers in colder regions, and also it would work to Elon's points from previously that 400 miles of range is enough, because for especially for the Model S here, I'm talking, if we're going Cybertruck, that's different, but for the Model S, if they do indeed perform a lot better in colder weather, you lose less range, then it starts making more sense, I think.
Yeah. I think this is kind of like for EVs. It's now becoming like you cannot have like a resistance heater in an EV. Like you must have a heat pump. Otherwise, you're losing a huge amount of range. I mean, if you live in California and Los Angeles, it doesn't really matter much, obviously. But for people here in New York and where you're at in Quebec, like this is the difference between losing 40% of range and losing like 10% of range. So it's a huge deal, and I don't think they cost that much more than resistance heaters. So I'm actually kind of curious why they're not in every EV at this point.
They're getting a lot more popular though. Part of it too is this big new radiator here, which is much bigger than the previous one in the Model S, and of the performance of the Model S Plaid, which again is extremely strong performance, and that's actually something that if you remember, Porsche has been like hammering Tesla on when they released the Taycan.
Yep.
They were like, yeah, we get great performance like Tesla, but on top of it, we can repeat that performance time over time because of our powertrain and our thermal management system being capable to do that. So I felt like this would kind of a nod to that. Like, yeah, we have improved our repeatability with those new performances.
Yeah, and also on the track, like you can't go hard for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. It was one of the knocks on Tesla.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There was a brief mention of charging, and I'm talking to a new owner right now. One of them, we trying to get more information on that, but Elon didn't elaborate more than 187 miles of range in 15 minutes, which is, I mean, it's better than it was doing before, but it's not a great metric. I mean, we're right now we're kind of settling on the metric that like a lot is 10 to 80% state of charge. In like how much time does it take you to charge to that, and also precise on what charging station. Is it 150, 250, 350 station? So those are the metrics that we like. Just saying 187 miles of range on 15 minutes, it's not great. But from what I'm getting right now from a brand new owner that has been supercharging it, it looks like it's at least one better at maintaining 250 for a longer period of time. So you will still get 250 at a higher charge rate, and the tempering of the charge rate is also a little bit slower. So you don't get that steep drop that you have right now with a lot of Tesla vehicles where, I mean, past 40-50%, like you're in the hundreds already, like hundreds of kilowatts. I think Matt sent me a picture that was charging at 200 kilowatts in the mid 40% state of charge. So not bad, but still it's not a 800-volt system. It's not 350 kilowatt charging. Though
Right.
Elon at a brief moment, it was like, when he was talking about the charging network, a supercharger network in general, he did mention that we are improving also the charge rate. He said 280, 300 kilowatt, and eventually 350. But I mean, no timeline whatsoever. So,
What are you referring to? A child's toy?
yeah, I think he wants to get back. He wants those words back. I don't think he meant that.
I wonder if he really just misunderstood. So we're making fun of Fred asked Elon on Twitter one time if the Tesla version 3 superchargers were going to go to 350 kilowatts, and then Elon replied publicly and on the record, what are you referring to at 350 kilowatts? A child's toy? Well, they're not there yet, and it's been years. It's like 3 years ago.
Maybe Elon was coming out of a meeting where like engineers were like, "Hey, we can do like 500 kilowatts right now," and
or he was at a semi meeting, and they're like megawatt,
and then they're like, "Oh well, for the longevity of the batteries, maybe we won't try that," and then they gave that up after a while.
Right.
But that's something we need to keep an eye on, because if there's really one thing that Tesla is kind of its lead is eroding a little bit, I think it's with charging capacity. I would still give Tesla the lead overall in charging capacity because of the value of the supercharger network is the best network by far.
For sure.
But some of them are catching up. Some network are slowly catching up. And then when you combine that to the fact that now you have some EVs that charge at 350, like the Ioniq and all those new cars coming up, the Porsche Taycan is also coming at 350 and everything. Like these things are starting to like add up. I still would give Tesla the lead just because of how extensive the supercharger network is, and it still does 250 at some station at least. But I feel like Tesla needs to watch out on this because the gap is closing. Part of the event was also discussing the safety of the new Model S, but I mean, we know Tesla is always big on safety. We know that they are doing extremely well in crash tests and all that stuff. And Elon said that he expects the Model S Plaid to be no different and to just add to Tesla's already lead in terms of lowest probability of injury, at least according to its testing. But the vehicle hasn't been tested yet, so keep that in mind. Then you move on to the interior. That's where we already knew a lot of that information, but there was a few things that Elon highlighted. He spent some time discussing the auto shift that you talked about earlier, using Autopilot to predict what drive mode you should be on in terms of drive, reverse, neutral, or park. A lot of that was kind of aspirational. I felt like the way he was talking about it, like it will do that, it will be good and everything. He even talk about geolocation of it, like it will remember when you go to drive and reverse in certain location and automatically use that. It remains to be seen. I think you're gonna have to we're gonna have to test that over time. But here's the thing, people, like it's not that big of a deal. Like yes, it's a big deal. The technology is a big deal, but if you don't like it and you don't like the prospect of that, you still have manual ways of changing the drive mode. It's just not a stock like it used to be. But you still have the force touch buttons on the center console, which is similar to like a lot of other vehicles using those shifters on the center console. Maybe not force touch buttons, but like BMW with the dial. A lot of them, of course, is more
I hate the dial.
traditional. Personally, I think the force touch button would probably be easier than the dial.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, most people are used to shifter or stock, and there's also on the screen now the left. There's a little band on the left side, but we're gonna get to that because we did post a video to our YouTube channel earlier today about with a deeper dive into the new user interface. And this did discuss that the second row seat has been more headroom, more leg room. They managed to squeeze a little more space in it, making a more fuller second row experience, which of course is fun with the screen there too. So it's gonna be a lot better experience in the back.
I think that's going to be big in China. We know that the rich folks in China like to have a driver and like to kind of hang out in the back. That's something that even Elon was like, our Model S wasn't great in the back, and now it's legit. I think that he said something to that effect. So extra space, screen, you can control more things from the back.
Yeah, also multi Bluetooth devices now, so
Yep.
you can be in the back with like you can have a driver. You can have a driver with his own stuff linked to the system through Bluetooth with his phone, and then you can have a passenger in the back have his own phone managing entertainment stuff related to the entertainment system in the new Model S through your phone. So that's great. A quick glimpse at the new user interface too. That was one of our big expectation with the launch, that Tesla would unveil a new UI that probably would make it to other vehicle at some point. But of course, specially designed for the Model S due to the new screens, and it looks good. It looks great. Like a lot more customizable. You can move the window around. It's less of a it's less of like a iPad OS kind of feel, and more like almost like a laptop kind of feel. Like you can open windows, open apps, close them, move them around, and everything.
So a lot of people are asking, is this going to come to Model Y, Model 3, this new interface? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I definitely think that some elements will make it. We thought Tesla would kind of unveil V9 basically at the V11, I should say, at the event for the Model S, and then a version of it would be pushed to other cars. Like I said, there was some underwhelming part of the event, like it was extremely focused on that, but it's not V11. It's still under version 10. So what I expect is that in version 11, which should be pushed to all cars, they will get a lot of elements of what we see on the new software, the Model S Plaid, make it to those other cars with limitation based on, of course, the hardware that you have that are different in each car. But I mean, this is clearly optimized for a center display that is just that. It's just a center display because you still have the instrument cluster. It's a big difference. But I did post a video about it thanks to Shiv, the new owner of one of the first 25 Plaid, Shiv Shikan from Draco Motors, people that do the crazy quad motor $1 million hypercar. He bought a brand new one, and he did take delivery during the event. And I mean, I can ship to that video too. It was on the list of the item to discuss this week. And he was kind enough to do a quick walkthrough of all the features in the right here. So standard, you have the whole screen like that. The whole navigation is your background basically, and now everything else is kind of from the app launcher. You can launch them, and then you can minimize them. You can move them around like you just did here with the music app. And you have on the left side here, you can like right now. This band here, when you're on drive or in park or in anything really, you can shift from drive to reverse by just swiping up and down on this little band here. And if you swipe right, it pulls out the controls here. So in the controls, you have this is the quick controls. Now the buttons are much bigger, much more useful to if you're driving. Though most of that stuff you shouldn't have to use when you're driving, except maybe for like recording and and wipers. The wipers, you also have buttons on the force touch buttons on the steering wheel. But yeah, a lot cleaner. I feel like I enjoy the UI update, but I mean, the bar is not high when it comes to that with the auto industry. I feel like, and Tesla is already way ahead. But you see, they keep improving. So I feel like they're gonna keep their lead on the UI for a long time.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine anybody. I mean, realistically, who's going to beat Tesla? It's going to be Google or an Apple. Like that's
Yeah,
it.
it's gonna be like Polestars and things
Right.
like the company that are like, screw it, let's go full Google. Let's not even like do it ourselves at this point. Yeah. But yeah, what I just discussed real quick is the this here, right here. Okay, so the big advantage of the Model S. So Tesla was already used to doing horizontal center screen for the Model 3, Model Y, but they were limited from that because all the left side of it, or the right side, if for right-hand drive cars, needed to be the instrument cluster. So by retaining an instrument cluster screen separate for the Model S, you have a brand new experience that you can develop for the center screen, which we just watched. I mean, even like for entertainment stuff. So you have the arcade and theater. Tesla arcade, Tesla theater now is a much bigger, much better experience on the screen. But they also updated the instrument cluster for the Model S, and one of the big difference here is like the driving visualization for Autopilot and full self-driving package now are your speed is displayed on the right side, but everything else is basically driving visualization. You can see on top of it the traffic lights, speed limits, and 1, 2, 3 lanes are visible in the screenshot alone here. So, and on top of that, you see the screen better because of the yoke steering wheel too that doesn't
Right.
have the top bar. So I think it's going to be a great experience of a driving car, even though like a lot of emphasis is on automation with autopilot, with auto shift, and all that stuff. But I think it could be tuned as a very fun racing like driving car. Maybe some tuning companies are gonna get involved and make some cool ones like because of that too. That would be nice to see. Maybe something is in the work, and I know nothing. I know nothing.
Do you think somebody will just invent like the top of the steering wheel and just plop it on there?
I mean, we've seen people do aftermarket steering wheel here, but in this case, like there's so much technology is involved, and like oh, you mean literally like
Just a
keeping the
round
same?
bar.
I mean, Tesla vehicles are so popular now. There's so many accessories developed just for Tesla cars that I wouldn't be shocked that that would happen. But
I
I think
mean,
it would be hard to make that look good, though.
like
No.
yeah, it would definitely be hard to make it look good, but like say you got a Model S Plaid, you love it, whatever. You needed to lend it to your friend or your wife or your cousin, and they're like, "What the heck is this thing? I can't drive without a steering wheel." So you're like, "Yeah, I got it."
Mm.
You just plop this thing on there, boom, you got a steering wheel,
Yeah,
just like
but
Guillen
even
is.
then, like how the like it's still is it still gonna be square because the bottom of it is technically square. So the top
Right.
of it, if you make it round, it's not. It's still not gonna be comfortable. Now, speaking of the steering wheel, that's a big thing that we need to know more about. Like I've been expecting steer by wire because it makes more sense. You can tune the radius, the turning radius of it a lot better, and make a better experience because you cannot do overturn with that. Like it's not you can do only a certain degree of turning before it becomes completely uncomfortable. And from the videos I've seen from the test rides, it's pretty much what they're doing right now. So I'm like, yeah, that made me a lot more skeptical about the steering wheel than I was before. Um, but let's see. Like again, Tesla's a software company, so maybe like they push a bunch of software updates and tune that to make it feel a lot better. I hope so because what I've seen, so I haven't driven it yet, so I don't want like don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. But from what I've seen, I was it wasn't great. But we'll wait until later to really judge it because you need to sit in it really. All right, Do we have anything more to say about the Plaid event, or we move on? If you guys have any questions about it or about anything we're gonna discuss today, or any questions about EV in general, put them in the comment section right now, because we're gonna get to them after we're done with the news items. With I mean, I guess we already spent like 40 minutes on it. So
Yeah, and we should probably discuss our
sponsor
sponsor.
too. Yes.
I can do that now. So the all-new, all-electric Volkswagen ID4 SUV with 0 direct emissions was created for everyone. You'll get tech features that make you wonder how you ever survived without them, like a powerful voice control system. With an optional panoramic glass roof, all you have to do is say, "Hello ID, open sunshade," to enjoy the sunshine hands-free. But before it can change the world, it has to change yours. Learn more at vw.com/ID4.
All right. All right. Tesla had kind of a up and down week when it comes to the stock price, but it did get help from a report about the Chinese sales from Tesla, which was actually what brought the stock down the week prior, which we discussed on the podcast. But it just brought more confusion for a lot of people, a lot of Tesla fans, especially because last week what we discussed was the net orders from the was it the information that the yeah, I think it was the information that posted the report about net orders, which we discussed was take it with a grain of salt and everything, because it's really rare that we get access to net new orders from Tesla. But then this report came out, and this report is from the China Passenger Car Association, and this one is about vehicles delivered and vehicles exported, which they're mixing up now, which is kind of weird because they're not the same thing at all. But the report says that, well, at first it said 33,463 China-made electric cars sold last month in May. The 22,000 Tesla vehicles delivered in the country in May, and 11,500 that were exported from China. So big difference here. But this is an increase over the prior month. So yay, and Tesla stock goes up and everything. And then a lot of Tesla fans were like, yeah, this dispute the fact that the net new orders in May were super down, which it doesn't. I'm not saying that the report on net new orders is right or wrong. I don't know that for a fact. But this report doesn't say anything about that, because those are the vehicles delivered in May and exported in May. Not net new orders. Net new orders in May, most of them won't be even delivered in this quarter. They would be delivered like in July, or maybe some in late June or whatever. But they're completely different. So don't go claiming that Tesla's troubles in China are done. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but still a good month for the month of May. And actually, I would, even though the net new orders were down last month, I would expect June to be even bigger month for Tesla in China, because the third month is always, they always go crazy. Third month of every quarter, I should say. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, a lot of confusion over Tesla's Chinese numbers. All right, a report that we came out with yesterday too that I thought was interesting. We found a bunch of new job listings for Tesla regarding customers, because the customers are the test drivers for Tesla. But no, I'm talking about actual Tesla employees that are testing the vehicle on public roads and private roads too. A few months back, we did discuss that Tesla already have a bunch of those in California. They were looking to hire some in Phoenix, which was an interesting one, because Phoenix is like a kind of a hotbed of autonomous vehicle testing. Waymo is famously already operating a commercial system there with they have their app and everything. You can order like a car, like you order a Uber, and actually it's a driverless car that shows up. And Tesla was also looking for Austin, but Electrek found this week a bunch of new listings. And the interesting part is that they are going international for it, which is a big deal, because we know that that's going to be a big hurdle to deploy full self-driving capacity, is having it adapted to other markets. So for international markets, Toronto, Paris, Milan, Italy, and Barcelona, Spain, Tesla is looking in all those markets to hire a bunch of people to test the latest Autopilot and full self-driving Philadelphia, and Miami. So if you are in any of those markets, you don't need a college diploma. I'm not even sure you need a high school diploma, to be honest. You need a valid driver license with a clean record and everything, and you need to have some be attentive to details and all that stuff, and be good at providing like feedback. And you could get a job at Tesla. You basically drive a vehicle around all the time, a Tesla vehicle. It's a sweet job. I feel like don't know how much it pays. I'm not sure if it's a because of the perks. I would assume that it's not a high paying job because you get a vehicle, you get to drive around and everything. But and it's an interesting. You have no idea, said how many emails I got since posting that article. Like, hey, where can I get that job in this place, in this place, and I like. All the links are in the article. People stop asking me about getting
I know a few of those went to the tips line as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of scary. Like,
my Twitter went crazy, my email went crazy, and I'm like, first of all, I have no power over who Tesla's hiring over this,
obviously.
And so obviously, so that make that clear. So don't ask me for favors. I cannot give you a favor. And also, like a bunch of people from other markets started like, how do I get that job in Seattle and everything? Like, I don't know. Like if the job is not listed, like maybe ask Tesla to open the job like that in Seattle. But if it's not listed, I don't think that just because they have a good applicant that's from there, they're gonna open the position. I'm always surprised when people like read articles like that and they think the author of the article has some kind of relation to the company. Like we post a review on the e-bike and they're like, we want to buy your e-bike. I'm like, it's not our e-bike. It's we just reviewed it. Like it's surprising how many people have that notion. Zero one on Reddit that did some. It's not the first time that we posted on his reverse engineering of the Tesla app, but this latest reverse engineering that he did was pretty successful in bringing a lot of new information about something that we talked about before. Is Tesla's integration of more of other features in the mobile app, and including Tesla Insurance. So the integration of Tesla Insurance in the app, and the what he discovered was pretty interesting. Is Tesla's going to create some sort of safety ratings for all owners, or at least all owners that use Tesla Insurance. That part wasn't exactly clear, but it would mainly be useful for people that have Tesla Insurance to calculate your rate. And it's gonna use a bunch of different factors to give you that safety rating score, and then that safety rating score is gonna apply to your premium on a monthly basis, and can affect your premium up to 50% on a monthly basis. So the price up to 50%. So reduce it by 50% or increase it by 50%, depending on a bunch of factors. And those factors are ABS activation. So the number of time that ABS is activated, average daily driving time, autopilot disengagement, forced autopilot disengagement, the number of time that you get forward collision warnings. This one bothers me a little bit because I do get some forward collision warnings and I'm like, calm down. Like I'm not even close to hitting the car. I'm like,
do you have yours set at the most sensitive?
I think I'm in the middle. I think I'm not that sensitive. I think
we have ours at the most sensitive, and we get them all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I was in that situation, and then I removed the sensitivity because like a stop when like I see the vehicle starting to drive. I hit the car if I'm slowing down and he's accelerating, like I'm not gonna hit anything, but these like the beep beep beep. I'm like, all right, calm down.
Why? Okay, explain why forced autopilot disengagements should be.
Due to ignored alerts. So
okay.
It's for when you have the blue thing coming up and like you don't respond to that, and then number of time that is disabled. So it's like that one's actually first. So it's not just like not responding to alerts. Is when, because you get several level of alerts. You get the message on the screen, then the blue flashing light, then you get the take over control because we're gonna shut down the autopilot right now. So It's only if you get the last one. So I I I, I really get those in the Model 3, but in my Model X, when I was driving the Model X, and it's because I spent a lot more time in my Model 3 with the first Autopilot, it doesn't have the same level of alerts. And this one I was disabled a bunch of times because I was too used of the level of alerts in the Model 3. Then the one in the Model X was so different that I have to admit that I got disabled a few times, which is a bummer when you're like 30 minutes into
On a
a
long
3 hour
drive.
drive. Like you're
Right.
like, all right, do I stop somewhere and put it on park so that I get Autopilot again, or I just go the good old way of driving on the highway without it. All right, unsafe following time. So I don't know following distance that is basically. I don't know what the criteria for that are, so that's kind of a vague one. Then intensity of acceleration and braking. So speed variance due to extreme acceleration and braking showed from a scale of 0 to 10 and measured against Tesla's internal fleet. So that one is also a vague one, like what really consists on the intensity of the acceleration, like, and hopefully it doesn't affect too much. Like if you have a performance car, you can there's times you can accelerate that it's fairly safe. So, but anyway. So Tesla is going to put that score, build a score, a safety rating score off of that, and apply that to your premium on Tesla insurance. So technically, if you're a very safe driver and you don't get too many autopilot disengagement, forward collision warnings, and all that stuff, automatic braking, you would get a very good safety rating score and lower premiums on the insurance. So that's a big thing. And also, if Tesla is open about all those factors, and you can work on improving your score and be a safer driver and pay less money on your insurance, like this like I can see this being an issue if it's not implemented properly. But if it's properly implemented, it's going to be a big deal in terms of reducing your insurance cost. And Tesla is not the first one to implement that, but it might be the first one to implement it directly with the vehicle's own connectivity features. Because I know that some insurance sells you those little things that you plug into your CAN system that's
Yeah.
going to track
ODB.
ODB, and it's going to track some of that stuff. Some insurance will also give you an app on your phone, and it can track some of that stuff. They can track like your acceleration and your driving and everything from your phone, and then they will apply that to your premiums and things like that. But it might be the first time that an insurer, an automaker, applies it directly from the vehicle's connectivity features. So I thought that was interesting. All right. On the less fun stuff, Tesla announced this week that Jerome Guillen is leaving the company after what, almost 10 years, I think, at the automaker. So for those of you who don't know Jerome joined Tesla as the Model S program director at the very important times during the Model S program from 2010 to 2012, I think. 2012 and 2013 to early 2013
So he basically brought it to
market, which is extremely difficult to
Big
do.
deal.
And also was Tesla basically his first car that was built from the ground up. Like it wasn't like built in partnership with Lotus like the Roadster was. So for a while, the Model S was his baby, and then he went on to a bunch of different roles at Tesla, leading overall engineering, leading consumer service, which brought him more of a consumer-facing role and made him known with the Tesla community at that time. And it was really appreciated because, I mean, it doesn't take much of communication to make us to improve communication at Tesla. Like you get a little bit and you're like, whoa, what's happening? Like Tesla's actually communicating. But he did that directly with the owners. He even used back then the TMC forum was more popular back then, and he used that directly to communicate with people. I think now the forum format has died down a little bit, but because before joining Tesla, he led the Cascadia program at Daimler Trucks, Freightliner, I should say, and he brought the new generation of the Cascadia to market. So when he came to Tesla, of course, he came to Tesla at first not for trucks, lead the Model S program, and then vehicle engineering. He has an engineering background, of course, and but later on, he was put in charge of the Tesla Semi program, which made a ton of sense because he was the only person in the company that brought a vehicle program, a semi truck program to market from the ground up, and uh, but then he was working exclusively on that. Then he was promoted actually to president of automotive at Tesla for a little while, and but then earlier this year he was kind of demoted to president of heavy trucking at Tesla. I mean, kind of a demotion from president of automotive, but at the same time, it was to have him focus on the Tesla Semi program. But now Tesla kind of unceremoniously, is that
That's
you
right.
know,
Yep.
announced that he was leaving. They just released a little SEC filing saying that Jerome departed Tesla. We thank him for his many contribution and wish him well in his future career. That was it. That was it for Jerome at Tesla. We reach out to him, see if he wants to comment on the situation and regarding his departure, but we haven't heard that from Jerome.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we had heard, or you had heard recently that there was some animosity between him and Elon, or between him and some other high-ranking Tesla folks.
No, with Elon, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But that was last summer, and apparently it was like the situation wasn't great. And then of course later on he was demoted and now leaving. So probably weren't really happy at Tesla anymore. We don't know from which side it came from. If he decided to leave, or if Elon wasn't happy with him and pushed him out. But either way.
So when does he get his job at Apple or Google?
Well, I mean, I'm sure he has his pick of. I mean, Tesla, especially someone that has spent 10 years at Tesla like that, and is deeply involved in all the major vehicle program, we appreciate Jerome a lot. I think his contribution at Tesla are undeniable, especially we would bring the Model S. Making Tesla a much more serious company with that. And then the Tesla Semi, it's kind of a bummer that like it looks like the Tesla Semi is literally like weeks to months away from the first deliveries to customers. So I would have loved for Jerome to be there for that.
Although it's not a good sign that he's leaving at this point.
I mean, it depends. If it's him leaving, I don't know. If it's Elon pushing him out, then that's another thing, because Elon must be like feeling secure with the program and like in the hands of other people. But I don't know. It's a very opaque situation, so I don't want to speculate too much. All right. Lastly, the last piece of news before we go to the comments and questions. So if you have any, make sure to put them in the comment section right now if you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever you're watching live, and we're gonna get to them in a second. But this was one of our biggest articles of the week, actually. The Anonymous, so the hacking group Anonymous released this video. Well, whether or not it's anonymous is up to question, but I mean that's what the problem when you have a group called anonymous and you're literally anonymous. Like anybody can claim to be you, to be the collective. But here's the thing. The video was posted to a verified YouTube channel, which, to start with, how do you verify anonymous? I don't know, because it's like they gave them like the driver's license to verify it or something. It doesn't make sense. But anyway, the weird part is that even then, there's not really an official anonymous like account or anything, but there's a big Twitter account that's like Anon News that claims to be linked to Anonymous, and they have millions of followers and everything. So they're like the source for Anonymous, if you will. And then they claim that they weren't directly related to that video, but at the same time, as soon as the video came out, they like posted it, and they sharing Tesla and Elon Musk, and even sharing one of those. I think you sent me that, the meme. They shared the meme of like Anonymous. Like, what was the meme? But I wish I could show it right now. But it was like Tesla fan blocking Elon Musk from criticism, but the criticism was coming from Anonymous. So are they saying that it's their criticism? But anyway, the video was went viral, received millions of views and everything. So I decided to take a crack at it, to look it up a little bit, and it was pretty awful, to be honest. Like the video, like I hope that it's not anonymous behind it, because if it is, like, anonymous is getting sloppy as hell, because it was terrible. Like it looked like the video was produced by fossil fuel industry trying to trash Tesla and Elon Musk, like and using the same old washed up arguments that they used to, with the subsidies and everything. Won't get into too many details of it, but there was a big part about the crypto stuff too, which I'm not. I dabble in cryptocurrency. I'm no expert. I am an expert, and I would claim self-proclaim expert in electric vehicles. I mean, I have put my 10,000 hours in it and more. So I think I feel pretty confident in calling myself an expert in that industry. So we focus more on those claims, and those claims, I mean, it was it was pathetic. The whole on other stuff, like they use this article from the Sunday Times, like a clear clickbait articles. Blood batteries fuel the fortune of Elon Musk, and the claim that showed that Tesla is using lithium that is mined from child labor, which which is nonsense. Of course, first of all, I'm not aware of any claims of lithium being mined by child labor. It's mostly cobalt and rare earth metals and things like that are more problematic when it comes to child labor. And the articles that they posted themselves, I 100% sure they didn't read it. So they posted this article, they used it in the video, and they didn't read it. And it might be because it was behind a paywall, actually. And Anonymous is not capable of hacking behind a paywall for some reason. But
there's some Chrome extensions you can use out there.
yeah, because I didn't get behind it myself. I'm not gonna pay any money to the Sunday Times for posting this insane clickbait right here, because first of all, in the article they cannot trace any direct link with any kind of material being mined by child labor and Tesla and Elon Musk. So the headline is complete nonsense. Also, the whole article is about cobalt, not about lithium, like Anonymous or people claiming to be anonymous were saying. So they didn't even read it. And of course, that doesn't change anything about the fact that there is a problem with some mining operation, especially in the Republic of Congo, that use children to mine cobalt. That is definitely a problem that needs to be addressed. And believe it or not, most people are addressing it. Like, most people don't want to be associated in what whatsoever with child labor. And any company that is serious is doing very, very extensive supply chain checks to make sure that their suppliers are not using any cobalt mined from them, including Tesla. And I did post the conflict mineral reports that Tesla posts yearly about it. And as far as I'm aware, I'm not aware of any serious evidence that Tesla is using any of that cobalt. I could be wrong, but I don't see that. So this is, and of course, it's a go-to claim for people that are against electric vehicles. Like, oh,
I'm surprised they didn't make the connection, because Elon's dad is an emerald miner in
they
Africa.
did make that too.
I know, but that maybe that's where he's got the emerald mines. He gets the cobalt. Yeah. It's all coming from the mines in Africa. If we're going to be conspiracy theorists about all this stuff.
And I mean, and on the emerald mine with Elon's father and everything, I'm on Elon's side on that thing, because if you look at all the evidence, like this share of an emerald mine in Africa, even all the information is all coming from Elon's father. So right. the people that are using it against Elon or using it for Elon are using the same information, which is from his father. And his father admitted, like, this was a kind of a small deal. Like he traded a plane for a small share of emerald coming out of a mine, which I don't think he's ever been to that mine too. Like he would just get some emerald every now and again, and that dried out pretty quick. And Errol, Elon's father, was wealthy at some point, But apparently, like this is a very small portion, according to himself, again, which the same information is being used by both sides here. A small portion of his wealth was coming from that small share of an emerald mine. But anyway, this has nothing to do with cobalt anyway. And when it gets even crazier down on this video, they use the Evo Morales, the former president of Bolivia's claim that he was ousted by Elon Musk organizing a coup against his administration in Bolivia in order to secure the lithium supply in the country, which again is a completely insane claim that has no evidence base. It's not evidence based whatsoever, and anonymous for some reason, or these group of people decided to share it with millions of people. But and I mean, Elon kind of have to blame himself a little bit on that one, because the 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 Tesla wasn't linked to that situation whatsoever. Really, like a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists tried to link Tesla to it, but there was a company linked to that situation that has nothing to do with Tesla. But some people tried to link it with Tesla, and then Elon decided to go on Twitter when people were starting to claim that he was behind the coup. Elon decided to go on Twitter and said, "We're gonna coup whoever we want to coup." Which of course he was joking. Like, who the hell would say that if they were serious? Like, this is kind of like next level super villain, like going publicly, we're gonna coup whoever, we're gonna coup. Like, I mean, the CIA doesn't say that publicly, people. So and if someone is cooing people, it's it's the CIA. But yeah, he was obviously joking about it. But then Morales, you saw the tweet that was like, "This is proof." So a crazy stupid scenario, and then Anonymous taking it seriously for whatever reason, and again sharing it with millions of people as part of a clear like hit piece to discredit Tesla and electric vehicles. Yeah, again, much of the video was spent around the subsidies, which Tesla used subsidies like every other electric vehicle manufacturer. But if you actually look at it, this is a fraction of the subsidies that the fossil fuel industry takes. And here's the thing I always come back to. If he claims that the electric vehicle community is all about subsidies, then why, if you ask almost everyone in the electric vehicle community, if they would give up all subsidies for a fair carbon tax, like I would venture that 99% of the community would say that they would prefer the carbon tax. It's a much fairer implementation of the representation of the cost that fossil fuel have on the earth and on the health of humanity. So like, how can the whole EV thing can be about subsidies? And we were like, put them all away. Just put a carbon tax on everyone, like it should be, instead of like, oh, let's give subsidies to fossil fuel industry and then compensate with subsidies for electric vehicles. That's just but apparently carbon tax is just too complicated for people or too political. But yeah, you can read this article and check the video if you want to. Like, let's see how many views that video had right now. Like, it
I'm gonna say 10 million.
It was 2 when I wrote the article on was it Wednesday or something. So 10 million would be crazy. No, it's still 2.4. So it calmed down but a little bit. But like 70,000 likes versus 5,000 dislikes. Like, what the hell is that about? Like people are watching this and like it makes sense. It makes sense. That's the problem with YouTube. Like, you can say whatever nonsense you want, and there's no one like if I play this video, what video are they gonna push next? Is it gonna be like this video, for example, that's disproving what they were saying in the video? That would make sense. Like, all right, let's show you one side of the coin, let's show you the other side of the coin. But no, if you search this, if you end up on this on YouTube, the next video they're gonna show you is another conspiracy video that's gonna push you other nonsense, because YouTube's algorithm figure out, hey, if you like that, you're gonna like that other nonsense, which is kind of a bummer. All right, should we move on to questions? It's already
yep.
already an hour 10 into this.
All right, let's get there. All right,
it's Friday night. People wants to get it.
Yeah. All right, Chris Johnson. We were talking about how long we drive. Says I only drive 10 miles per week. That's should get an e-bike. Really, just drop the car. Yeah, I probably drive. I would say 30, 35, 40 miles a week. But my daily commute is to the coffee shop, and I take a bike there. So
yeah,
it's usually picking up the kids.
I haven't driven my car this week.
Yeah.
like at
All
all.
right. Dan Oberst says, I have a feeling that the Plaid Plus was either delayed or Osborne affected the current Model S. So Elon decided to say it's canceled so they can bring it out someday if they get it worked out. I have some thoughts on that. I wonder if the Rimac had anything to do with that, because the Rimac two-seater came out, I don't know, a week or so, 2 weeks ago, June 1st. And that had a 0 to 60 that, it beats the Tesla. It's a two-seat hypercar. It's a $2.4 million car.
Yeah,
It's, like you can build something that's faster if you really, put your mind to it and money on it. So, I kind of wonder, like, if Elon's saying, all right, look, we're not going to beat the Rimac with a 5-seat sedan, but we could beat it with the Roadster. So let's take that, Plaid motor. Let's forget about the Model S and let's focus on the Roadster. This is probably wishful thinking on my part that they're actually even thinking about the Roadster right now. But maybe they take aim at the Rimac Navara with the Roadster instead of making it another Model S, because the Model S, it's a big car. It's got 5 seats and lots of room. It doesn't really lend itself to hypercar type stuff, whereas the Roadster is a very sleek, very short 2-person with 2+2 kind of car. So that's just one thought I had. But you're right, Dan. Like the Osborne effect is pretty strong. Like if you know that there's a better car coming, it's kind of, you want to hesitate on buying the one that's out right now.
yeah, but the only answer that makes sense is, look, Tesla's this new, like, potentially revolutionizing technology of the structural battery pack with the 4680 cells. Is it never coming to the Model S? Is that what we're saying when we think that the Plaid Plus is canceled? Because no, of course not. So at some point, the 4680 cells and the structural battery pack will make it the Model S, and then we're gonna have a Plaid Plus, or it's gonna be called something else at this point. So, but it's not like Tesla is gonna stop improving on the Model S program. So yeah, in maybe in practice it's canceled, but we're gonna see the equivalent of it at some point. There's no doubt.
All right. I'll say hello from Germany. We'll be, by the way, we're going to be in Germany for EIAA and Eurobike in September. So if you're in Germany in early September, come visit us in the south in Bavaria. We'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff there. All right. And then Brian A. Tired won't be ready that they are produced for the S to reach. Tires won't be ready that are being produced for the S to reach 2000. Why is that? Like, there's a Bugatti Chiron that goes like 300 miles per hour. Like, where are the tires? Like, is this a new thing? Did they forget to order tires, or is it one of those inventory things? What's the deal?
I don't know. No idea.
All right. Pablo Collins, there were 3 guys in the car during the 2.7 second run. He's referring to the drag times thing. That's correct. Oh. There was a driver. I can't remember the drag times name. Guy was in the front, and then there was somebody else in the back who was kind of like, no offense, dude, but kind of a pansy. Like, he was just screaming the whole time. But 3 people in the car. The driver didn't seem like a big guy. Nobody was a big guy in there, so it should be able to get closer to 2 seconds, in my opinion. Also, it didn't have a rolling start, which I think Tesla stipulated. Plaid has Michelin Pilot Sport something tires. Doubt they can't do 200. Same tires as that on the AMG, Mercedes-Benz, Porsches. All right, so
yeah, Tesla's been using those for a while on performance cars.
What's more impressive to me is that there's no gears. Like no gears to 200 miles per hour. That's what they said. Something over like over 20,000 RPMs. That's kind of a crazy engine.
Crazy because the Taycan has 2
gears.
And what's the top speed on the Taycan? Because they do need that second gear to achieve it.
I think it's in the mid, like
it's 260 kilometers an hour.
Oh yeah,
so what's 2 miles per hour? 161.
Right.
Not even
And
close.
that's 2 gears.
Yeah.
So that RPM thing is crazy. All right, Rich Tier says, my guess is for the Plaid Plus being canned is to allow for a bigger difference between the S Plaid and the Roadster. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Drag times Plaid, draggy time was with 3 people in the car, unprepared surface. Okay. Doesn't include the 1 foot rollout. Yeah, that's what we saw.
Yeah.
Carbon wrapped, so indeed a sleeve on the rotor outside. Yeah, I don't quite understand that technology. I saw some pictures from the event. They had like some carbon on the outside. What was cool is I talked to some people. I don't know if you did as well. They said that you could pick up the motor. It was like 30 pounds. That's impressive. Like that thing's. I mean, I guess there's 3 of them, so it's a little bit less impressive. But
yeah, but Lucid did the same. That remind me of the presentation of the Lucid. They also have a very small motor.
Pre-runner wannabe. I feel like Plaid drivers are going to become the new BMW stereotype because using the blinkers looks like such a chore if the yoke isn't perfectly centered.
Who's gonna? You have to see where Tesla is going with this. You're not gonna be the one applying the blinkers. Like the car is gonna be applying the blinkers. Car is gonna be doing all that for you. That's the whole point.
Right. But until it's perfect at that, we might have a little lull, I guess. SF asks, hey, Seth and Fred, quick question. Would you know if the GUI for the Plaid is coming to all of the Tesla models at a later date? Not expecting the gaming due to GPU. Yeah, you're not going to be playing Cyberpunk on an Atom chip. But yeah, I'm not expecting that on my Model 3.
Yeah. But some of the new games will make it through. Like the one that Tesla unveiled with the new car, like a flight thing. That's not a big game though. That's like a Nintendo game. I'm pretty sure you can play that on all the cars.
Yeah, they should just come up with like a MAME emulator that you can just load like thousands of games onto. All right, Alex
Lee. What's Google Stadia or something like that?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Alex Lear, carbon wrapped rotor replaces metal surface to reduce rotor to stator flux distance. In addition to the structural benefits, helps with power and rotational speed. Yeah, I think that speed thing, like that 20,000 RPMs, weird things start happening at that point. Like copper starts bending and stuff. All right, Daniel Zajic, I think Tesla's focus on user input is error. Will continue to differentiate their products. That is the new definition of luxury, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was a good line, right?
Yeah.
Elon every now and again he has those like that change your perspective on things. Like every input is an error. Like you have to do it automatically. Like if you want to, it's an extreme. It's an extreme thing to say for sure. But if you go by that, you will create a very smooth experience for the customer if it's executed correctly. Though that's the big thing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's too general. Like user input, like you kind of want to, like driving is fun a lot of times. So input is not always an error. Maybe it's user intervention is an error or something like that. I don't know.
No, but he's talking about that's when he was talking about auto shift to and everything. So
right,
like why shouldn't the car know that you want to put it in drive right now? You always have to ask every time you put an input. You need the design team, the engineering team to actually say, how come the car doesn't know that already and shouldn't be doing it?
All right. So Alex also reduces inertia and improves watts per kilogram. He's talking about the carbon on the motors. That's true. That's probably why it was a little lighter. I think the only reason for the Plaid Plus was to match the Lucid Air. Oh, that's a good point. Once the Lucid Air postponed their deliveries, there was no need for the Plaid Plus. That's true. The Plaid Plus was 520 miles and the Lucid Air was like 517 or something.
Yeah, but I mean, Plaid Plus, the Lucid Air, the top of the line is going to come. Like it's like that. That's a big part of the program. Like that, the fact that they're achieving those specs.
All right, Dan Oberst has a pretty good point here, I think. I like the miles in 15 minutes metric for charging. 20 to 80% depends on the size of the battery, and an inefficient motor gets credit where it wouldn't deserve. 15 minutes is a quick potty stop. That also, if certain cars have some space in there. Miles in 15-minute metric is a good one. The only caveat there is that some car manufacturers that we've been talking about have more optimistic miles than others. So you would have to kind of state, correct for that. But I agree.
But
Miles in
the
50 minutes.
problem with that is like that 15 minutes, that miles per 15 minutes, the first 15 minutes doesn't give you as many miles. It gives you more miles than the next 15 minutes.
For sure.
So that's the problem with that metric, where they're gonna share you the most optimal one, which is from 0% to 30-40%, whatever how many miles you can get in 15 minutes. While the 20 to 80, I don't know, like I like the 10 to 80. 10 to 80. And here's the thing that everyone should do too, is just share the curve. Share the charging curve from 0 to 100, and that will give you a pretty good idea. Then maybe share it with and without battery preconditioning, share it on 150 kilowatts, share it on 250 kilowatts, share it on 350 kilowatts, share all that stuff. And then that's the only way we can know who's really better at charging than anybody else. Like it's such a it's a lot more complicated than just filling up a tank of gas. Like all you need to know filling up a tank of gas is how many gallons you can take in a tank of gas, and the rest is like, I mean, there's different pumps that have different like pumping capacity, but that's another thing. Doesn't have a giant impact either. But for electric cars, it's still like not mature enough that like everyone is doing their own thing. But I like what Hyundai did with the Ioniq, sharing the whole curve, sharing the whole charging session. But of course, that's with a 350 kilowatt station, and there's not that many of them out there. So you're kind of limited on that too.
Yeah, but Hyundai also did give I think 5 minute. They were like, you can put 62 miles in 5 minutes, I believe.
But that's the optimal, like from 10 to 15%.
But I think as cars get faster in their charging, 15 minutes becomes a pretty good metric, because Tesla here in this situation is getting already close to 200 miles in 15 minutes. So you're talking about like enough to leave in 15 minutes. So for me, I think that's might be the best. I don't know. I'm a little bit more with Dan. All right, Cesar Turillo says, I really want a smaller Cybertruck or Cyber SUV. Ford just announced a smaller hybrid truck, the Maverick. After 150 launch finishes, you have to think they will do a BEV Ranger. Well, Tesla, I pray they will. So he's very hopeful.
Yeah, well, Ford product manager, communication product manager, did hint at an all-electric version of the Maverick, or an all-electric smaller pickup truck. So Ford might be working on that after the Maverick, which is less exciting as a hybrid without any plug whatsoever, even though it's super cheap. But yeah, there's definitely room for that in the market.
All right, so we're at an hour and 23 minutes. I'm going to try to.
That's why I'm tired as hell.
All right, I'm going to do a couple more. Elon did not seem like he was into the Plaid event, as if he was demoralized, I guess, months ago when his team could not reach Plaid Plus level specs. He turned up because he had to for the show. No effort, unlike Elon. I didn't
get that at all.
Yeah.
Did you?
No, I didn't feel that at all.
I mean, it wasn't a super well organized event, and Elon was obviously not. They didn't rehearse anything, but that's just on par for Tesla events. Right. Like it's not like, I mean, I think Elon is pretty excited about the Model S Plaid, actually, and I think people should like. I was underwhelmed a little bit about the level of details in the presentation and everything, but at the end of the day, what counts is like, do I want this car? Like, am I excited about this car? And yes, like the first thing I did after the event is go on the online configurator and like, let's configure one for fun. And then it came out at like $120 Canadian. I'm like, maybe later.
I know. After all Tesla events, I'm always in the configurator.
Yeah.
Should I do this? No.
Yeah.
All right. Caesar says,
can I sell my house? Can I live in it? I can live in it, right? I can do that.
Cybertruck, it's a little bit bigger. Caesar, I would like to somehow disconnect my resistive heater in my Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive. Ideas, anyone? I would say go to the fuse box. Just start pulling stuff until your heat stops. Or
sell the car and buy the new one with the heat pump. Like, this is like, unless you're like with Jason Hughes, you remember when like all people were talking about retrofitting the Autopilot 2.0, and like Tesla was like, no way, it's just way too complicated. And like Jason Hughes was like, I'll do it, and he did it with his car. And after doing it, he's like, no one should do that. It's way too complicated. Like a lot of times, like especially with the Teslas, like the older value pretty well. Like you can sell it
Yeah.
and get the new one if you absolutely want the new experience like that. But
All right, we have a very pro Tesla point of view on the UI. When it comes to the UI, Tesla is in a full sprint. Google is in a jog, and Apple, as far as we know, is just stretching. It's obvious the Tesla has so super smart, young, and hungry software engineers. So it's good to hear from the super fans. All
well,
right.
here's the thing. Like, I don't know about Google. I'm not as familiar about the Android Auto, but the Apple CarPlay, like Apple is a hardware and software company. They are great at meshing the two together. And Apple CarPlay is not that. Like Apple CarPlay is not as smooth because of that. Like they are using other people's hardware through well, it's phone mirroring. So technically you're using the phone, but still it's mirroring onto the interface of another product. So yes, in that term, that's why I prefer Tesla UI to even Apple CarPlay, because even though Apple is great at UI, Tesla has the advantage in this case of having both the hardware and software.
All right, we're nearing the end here. My 16X is just a grocery getter, 56,000 miles, 20% of battery gone. Do you think Tesla will replace the battery? Is there an 8-year warranty? Hard to get a hold of them. Easier easier to ask you guys' opinion. Yes, it is hard to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're going, not that far, just a grocery getter, then what do you need anything else for? Although you have a 16 Model X, right?
Yeah, I have a 2016 Model S, and it did get a new battery pack, but it did get a new battery pack after some more serious. It wasn't degradation that got the new battery pack on that car. It was well, I guess it's kind of degradation, but the range estimate was getting like the last, let's say, like 40% of the capacity would go down super fast, a lot much faster than the first like 60%. So that was a real problem with the battery pack, but that was at like 300,000 miles on it. So say 56 is something different.
Hey, have you heard about this? The new S and X have the new lithium ion 12-volt battery. We heard about that previously.
Yeah,
and
Elon confirmed it last year, I think, or
we
earlier this year.
and we know that that's happened. Or
Yeah. It's in the new Model S and X. Yeah.
cool. Any Tesla news this week? Haha. All right.
Yes, I know some people don't like when we're too much about Tesla, but let's be honest, not much else happened in the EV community this week. It happens sometimes. There was some news too.
Sometimes there's no Tesla news.
Yeah. Sometimes it's pretty slow on Tesla too, but obviously not this week. So I would love to talk about more than Tesla a lot of times too. You're not alone, but it's gonna happen more in the coming years and coming months too, with new cars coming up.
All right, I think we're
all set after an hour 30 minutes on a Friday night, people. Hey, we're dedicated to do that because I stay late until 2 a.m. last night to do it. So it was a tough day for me this morning, and I had to take a nap and everything because I wasn't functioning on all cylinders this morning, but firing all cylinders, I should say. But thanks everyone for listening, for tuning in. Well, I always appreciate when you come in to watch us live and ask questions and everything. So thanks to Rich, Jim, and everyone else that asked question today. You can hit us with a like on Facebook and YouTube. That helps a lot. You can help with a subscribe to know when we're coming up next time. We have a bunch of new videos on our YouTube too now, so you can check that out. On your podcast app, you can always subscribe to download the next episode and give us a 5-star review. Especially on Apple, that's very helpful to grow the show. So we appreciate you guys. We appreciate also Volkswagen for sponsoring the show this week with the VW ID4 electric SUV, a nice little machine. If you haven't seen it yet, go to your dealership and check it out. We're going to see you same time next week. Have a good one.